Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline.
And Adam.
For Pixie Dust PhD. On our recent trip down to both Universal and Walt Disney World in fall 2021, we did a pretty epic split stay with like 6 or 7 or so hotels, depending on how you count it.
You still call it a split if it has 6 or 7 parts?
It's a lot of splits, okay? It's a split stay. In today's video, we'll go ahead and recap that for you, give you some pros and cons and our general opinions of doing a split stay that's that intense. So stay tuned. All right, a brief recap of where we stayed. So we did do an airport hotel in North Carolina. We live in the DC metro area. We drove down to North Carolina to drop off our dog with my partner's parents. And so we ended up staying at a hotel that night. If you live close to an airport, obviously that's not going to apply to you. So I don't know if you want to count that or not, but that was technically one night of one airport hotel. Now, by the time we made it to Florida, these definitely all really count. So once we arrived, we stayed for 2 nights at the DoubleTree by Hilton across the entrance to Universal. So that was, our first theme park hotel. It was an off-site at Universal. After those 2 nights, we then moved 1 night to Loews Royal Pacific, which is an on-site premier level hotel at Universal. So 3 total nights of hotels at Universal split between 2 different hotels. After that, we moved down to a hotel in the Disney Springs area. So this is an off-site Walt Disney World hotel, but one of their good neighbor partners and such. It was the Hilton Buena Vista Palace. So that was 1 single night there. From there, we moved to 1 night at Beach Club Villas. Then we did 3 nights at the Boardwalk. Then we did 6 nights at Bay Lake Tower, and those were all contained within Bay Lake Tower, but it was actually 4 nights in a standard room, 1 night in a theme park view room, and then 1 night in a lake view room. So that's 6 total hotels in Florida, plus the 1 hotel in North Carolina. And then even within Florida, because Bay Lake Tower was split up, we did have 2 more check-in and check-out days rather than, just the 6 hotels. I don't know if you want to count that as 8 or whatever. So other considerations, obviously it was just us 2 adults traveling alone. I definitely don't think I would do this if I had kids under the age of maybe 15. We also weren't traveling with anybody older than us. So like if we were going with, Adam's parents or something, I don't know that I would want to put them through that many moves.
Yeah, it was a lot of moving, right? You'd pack your suitcase for when you go on the trip, and then, every hotel you'd have to pack it up again.
Right.
So, it definitely takes up a lot of time. Right,
yeah.
To actually move hotels, more than you think. But, there are definitely some pros to it as well.
Right. And then we also did have a rental car, so it was very easy for us to be in charge of our move. So we would pack our stuff up, put it in the rental car in the morning, drive over to the next hotel, and then leave our stuff with concierge at the new hotel. So it was not as challenging as it could be if you didn't have a rental car. If you were relying on ride shares, I think it would be a lot harder. I don't think we would do this many segments of a split stay if we were relying on ride shares for sure.
Yeah, we definitely did more split stays on purpose, especially, within Bay Lake Tower, they get different views, right?
Yeah.
And then also at Universal for the, Express Pass, which we have discussed in a prior video. So yeah, I think that, having a rental car to really be the, captain of your own ship, so to speak, right? Really made this a lot more feasible.
I think the rental car made it as efficient as it could be, but even like Adam was saying, it's still kind of a slow process. Even like just between the DoubleTree and Loews Royal Pacific, which are, a mile away from each other. Mm-hmm. Get the rental car, load it up, move it over, wait in the sort of loading area, unload it, check in, park the car, right? Leave your bags with concierge, get the bag ticket.
And waiting for the room to be ready was like a constant drama of our day.
True. Yeah, that was definitely a negative. Sometimes the rooms were ready pretty early. I think the earliest we got a room probably was Loews Royal Pacific. I think it was ready at like 10:30.
So early, yeah.
Which was really early. Over at Disney World, once we were doing our DVC stays, I think the earliest we got the room was 11:30, but more often it was like a 2 to 3 o'clock check-in, which we knew would happen, but it definitely was like, you're kind of always waiting for that to happen. And we also, because of that, we were always packing like a day pack to leave in the car that had a swimsuit, a change of clothes, bug spray, sunscreen, like in case we couldn't get into our room until 4 or 4:30 or even later. So yeah, the need for the day pack and just sort of having to always plan and anticipate, hey, we may not be able to get to our room. We may not really be able to get to our stuff easily was a bummer. Of course, we did leave our stuff with, bell services at whatever hotel we were checking into. So I guess we could always retrieve it, go through our things to take out what we want and then recheck it with bell services. But that's just twice as many tips and what a hassle. So I don't think I would recommend doing that. I'd say wait to get your bags until you have your room. One thing to note that while we did have the rental car, and I think that was really important for the amount of split stays we were doing, if you're staying only within Disney proper property, so off-site hotels don't count, those Disney Springs areas, hotels don't count. But for our stay between Beach Club, Boardwalk, and Bay Lake Tower, they will actually move your luggage for you if you don't have a rental car. So for example, when we were checking out of Beach Club, we could have left our luggage with bell services at Beach Club and told them, hey, we're transferring to Boardwalk. And they write that down on the tag and they move it for you. So you don't have to move your luggage if you're within Disney. But, who knows when you're going to get your luggage back? I think they say they guarantee it by 4 or 5 p.m. And I'm sure they do that most of the time. But, I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I much preferred, keeping my luggage on my person as much as I could. And we moved it so we knew it would be at the new hotel as soon as we were ready.
Yeah, Disney definitely gives you a lot of options to kind of get rid of some of the hassle involved with all of this. But at the same time, you lose some control. Right, in doing so.
And I think even if you were to do that, I would still suggest probably packing a day pack in case you didn't get your luggage in your new room until 4 p.m. or later. And then what are you doing with that day pack? So for us, we left it in the trunk of our rental car because, we had a trunk in our rental car. So it was easy to just slide a day pack in there. It was concealed, no big deal. If you didn't have a rental car, I guess you're toting it around with you all day, either at the parks or if you're hanging out at the pool or whatever, which to me seems like a hassle personally. In terms of the split stay for the Universal portion of our trip, we've already talked about that in more detail in terms of pros and cons of on and off site. I think that split stay worked well for us. If we just look at that one segment, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I would generally recommend it. I think even if you had kids and you didn't have a rental car, you were just gonna Uber over to an on-site hotel, I think for one day, one morning, it's manageable.
Yeah, I can't see families doing more than one hotel change. Yeah. Right? I can see them doing an intra-hotel room change, within Boardwalk or something like that.
If you're changing views or upgrading room size or something.
Right, that seems very feasible, but actually getting everyone out of the room, packed up, moved luggage, unpacked luggage, transition, travel time, that doing that more than once a week, it would be overwhelming in my mind. Again, we don't have kids or whatever, but just we know all the logistics of what went into this.
It was hard enough with 2 adults.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head for me.
Yeah. But I thought that worked out really well. So for that portion, just that segment, I was really happy with our split stay. And I think that's something we would do again.
Yeah, I definitely think I would split stay again as well. Changing rooms every 2 or 3 nights, I think this can have a lot of pros that outweigh the cons.
Right.
I just think that there's definitely a lot to do for me doing this for the first time I'm doing a lot of split stays. It was just I don't know.
We've done maybe two splits, so 3 separate hotels, I think, before in our international travels, because we do sort of like to move hotels just to be closer to whatever part of the city and the attractions we're in. But yeah, 6, 7, 8, or however you want to count it, hotels is definitely a record for us. All right, moving away from the Universal portion, we sort of had this weird interim part where we did one night then at the Disney Springs area hotel, the Hilton Buena Vista Palace, and then one night at Beach Club Villas. These were awkward, we weren't really fully starting our Disney portion yet. We did Boo Bash that night. And then the day that we checked into Beach Club Villas, we did end up going to Hollywood Studios, but basically just to do Rise of the Resistance. And the rest of the day was we need to sleep and rest kind of day. I didn't love, this got into a weird portion because we had one night at Loews Royal Pacific, one night at Hilton Buena Vista Palace, one night at Beach Club. That was hard.
That was hard. The back-to-back nature of that while doing a Boo Bash late night.
Yeah, it was...
It's like, we're like not getting back till like 2:30 in the morning, and we're gonna be packed up for tomorrow.
Yeah, it was not. I wouldn't do that again. I wouldn't suggest it. When we were planning it, it was kind of one of these weird things where with the Hilton Buena Vista Palace, we had a $250 credit to use, and it's kind of like use it or lose it, so we figured we may as well.
Yeah, and I think we also got a free water park ticket.
Oh yeah, and it came with, the rate we booked came with 2 water park tickets, so that was also, there's only 2 of us, so that was nice and appealing. So we ended up only actually paying about $30 for that room. The room was upgraded for us, so we booked a normal like king room, and they gave us a king suite, which was awesome. That's obviously not guaranteed.
Yeah, it was ginormous.
But that was cool. So yeah, it was $30 for a king suite, 2 water park tickets, like free hotel parking with the rate that we booked. So it's like hard to say no to that. And then I guess we could have just stayed there another night instead of moved to Beach Club, but we are Disney Vacation Club owners, so we had the points, and Beach Club was available, which seems relatively rare to me. So I thought, let's try. And then plus, once you're staying on Disney property proper, you don't have to pay to park at the theme parks.
Which is nice.
Which is a benefit. It's $25 a day if you don't do preferred parking, so it's not unreasonable, it's not unmanageable, but it's nice to get that in because we did have a rental car. We were planning on using the rental car to go to parks and stuff. It was just nice to like get on Disney property sooner rather than later. But mostly I think I just wanted to check out Beach Club Villas ourselves and like stay there. We've wandered around before, of course, but that was the first time we got to stay there, and it just worked. Like it just fit into our schedule. But that did make one night at Los Royal Pacific, one night at the Hilton, one night at Beach Club. And Boo Bash was one of those nights, so we were extra tired. And yeah, I would not suggest that. I think moving forward, with the exception of, arrival day, departure day,
right,
I feel like a minimum of 2 nights is probably where I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, doing a split stay with like an airport hotel, depending on what time you get in, perfect sense, right? I think that, I agree that in the future, we'll try and stay at like 2-night minimums at any time we're going to do a split stay, just because you actually don't have to literally unpack your bag in the morning and then pack it again at night.
It's really rough to like check in at 3 or 4 p.m., get a tiny little bit settled, try to go do a half day at the parks, come back, and then you have to repack because you got to get up at 7:30 or 8 or whatever the next morning to move hotels. Again, like back-to-back days. It was just really a lot more tiring than I thought it would be.
But don't want to take that away from the overall experience, which was awesome.
Right.
And being able to go to all these different hotels, different vibes, different themes, right?
Right.
All of that experiencing, it was a lot of fun and relaxing.
Right. And definitely in the future, I think we'll try our best to stick to the 2-night rule, sans, arrival day, departure day. But this $250 Hilton Resort credit does sort of put a wrench in that potentially if we don't use that for arrival or departure day.
Yeah.
Because you could maybe squeak 2 nights out of that at like the DoubleTree or Embassy Suites, but like you're not going to get 2 nights for $250 probably at Hilton Buena Vista Palace or Lake Buena Vista or some of these other resorts that count for this $250 resort credit. So there may be an awkward one-nighter in there for that reason, but this is all connected to the Hilton Aspire American Express credit card, which we pay a hefty yearly fee for, so we do try to make sure we milk it for all of the perks that we can get.
Yeah, the credit typically is a big piece of that.
Yeah.
Makes up for most of the fee.
Well, half.
So most.
Okay.
Yeah. Majority rules.
Sure. All right, moving on from that sort of middle portion of our stay where we're now in Disney proper, we did 3 nights at Boardwalk in a standard view studio, so the whole time we were in the same room. That was great. That was really nice to have that sort of solid time after so many one-night stays.
Yeah, the longer stay at Boardwalk was definitely needed after those back-to-backs. I did really think we had the opportunity to get really nice and settled in that room. And by the time I was like, all right, I'm ready to try something new.
Yeah.
Right? And I think at that point we were looking forward to the capstone of our trip.
Yeah. Moving from our one night at Beach Club Villas over to Boardwalk, obviously, was a very short little jaunt down the road in our rental car, so that was a pretty smooth and easy process. I think we got our room a little bit earlier that day, close to, I want to say, noon or so. Mm-hmm. So that was also nice. One thing to note, though, is it was raining that day, so we were just sort of hanging out in the Boardwalk lobby. And just in general around Disney property, many of the indoor areas are very cold. So I found the boardwalk lobby to be pretty cold. After being there for about 30 minutes, I was starting to shiver. And then also once we got our room, all of our Disney Vacation Club rooms were set to like 65 degrees and were very cold when you walked in. Same with a lot of the restaurants were super cold. So if you do think you're gonna have some downtime where you'll be indoors for an extended period of time, like waiting for your room, or, you know, instead of just waiting for your room in the lobby, let's go get lunch at Epcot. We're gonna go to Via Napoli. Freezing. So just, you know, have a sweater or something with you.
Yeah, put it in your day pack.
Yeah, keep a light layer with you if you are one of those people that tends to get cold. It didn't bother Adam as much at most of these places.
Yeah, I've got a dog blanket right now, but yeah, I'm not too bothered by the cold usually, but even I would admit that it was very chilly by default.
So we did 3 nights at Boardwalk. Like Adam said, I really felt like we could sort of unpack, get settled in. By the time we had to repack up to move, I felt fine with it. So I thought that 3-night portion I thought was like actually really nice and ideal. So if you were staying for a week, I think, you know, one split stay of 3 nights at the first place, 3 or 4 nights at the second place. Even with kids, depending on how far you're moving and if you do or do not have a rental car or if it's all within Disney property, I think it's manageable. And I think it helps you get sort of the best of both worlds in many cases.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you want to do, you know, 3 nights at Animal Kingdom Lodge or whatever, right? And then 3 nights in the monorail loop and do different parks on those different days. I mean, that's probably a really fun trip for you and the family.
Right. And so for us, we did sort of like Adam's just suggesting, we based our parks on the location of where we were staying. So when we were staying at Beach Club and Boardwalk, we did a lot more Epcot and Hollywood Studios. Mm-hmm. When we moved to Bay Lake Tower, we did a lot more Magic Kingdom, and then Animal Kingdom is not really near any of those, so we slotted that in with our Magic Kingdom days. So I think it saved us a lot of transit time being localized near the parks.
Yeah, anyone watching this who's been to Magic Kingdom knows it takes 45 minutes to get there from the parking lot, right?
It can be rough. Or even if you don't want to do a split stay based on location, maybe you're doing it based on budget. So you could stay off-site or at a value or moderate resort for your first 3 or 4 nights and then move to a moderate or deluxe resort for the last few nights. I think that would also be a really fun time and like very feasible to manage. So last for us, then we moved to our 6 nights at Bay Lake Tower. Moving from Boardwalk to Bay Lake Tower again with a rental car was pretty easy. If you didn't have a rental car, I think it would kind of be a pain. So even though Disney will move your luggage for you, you have to move yourself. And there are no like resort to resort buses. So you can't hop on a bus at Beach Club or Boardwalk that is labeled for the Contemporary Resort. You would have to go to Magic Kingdom and walk, which for Bay Lake Tower is pretty easy. But there's a bunch of other resorts where you can't necessarily walk from a theme park. So you would probably have to take a ride share if you didn't have a rental car. Or you bus to a theme park, and then from the theme park, you can take the bus to any of the resorts. But what a pain, basically.
Yeah, you're on vacation, not to ride buses, but to go to Disney.
Right.
So
I definitely would take a rideshare if I didn't have a rental car. So again, it was easy enough for us. Google Maps on the GPS, very helpful. You're okay. All of these times we were doing the mobile check-in, so on your phone you can tell them, hey, I'm showing up at 7 a.m., and then you just wait for them to tell you when your room is ready, but we just go, again, drop our bag off. We went straight into Magic Kingdom, I think the first day that we moved over to Bay Lake Tower. So then we were in that standard view room for 4 nights. Again, I really felt like we could unpack. I hung up a lot of my clothes. There was plenty of storage space in that room, which was awesome, and we could really settle in, and I thought 4 nights, again, was a good length of time.
Yeah, I agree. Really exciting to, drop our stuff off and go to Magic Kingdom. But I think 4 nights was, even though it wasn't, the best view, obviously, standard view, but it was still really nice. Way to start Bay Lake Tower. And
then we did 1 night in a theme park view room and 1 night in a lake view room in that order. For anyone wondering what that's about, I think we definitely wanted a theme park view room. It's much cheaper to do a theme park view room on a weekday night than a weekend night, so we slotted that in for a Thursday. And then we still had Friday, though, because we weren't flying back until Saturday. And so we probably could have just rebooked a standard view room, but we decided, hey, why not do the lake view? Like, if we're gonna move rooms, let's do something else anyway. So those one-night stays, I mean, you did still have to, like, pack up your bags, bring them downstairs, leave them with bell services, check out, check in. That doesn't change, but because it was within the resort, I found it to be much easier.
Okay, bye.
So yeah, doing that within Bay Lake Tower was easy enough. It's definitely easier than doing a proper hotel change, but you still are waiting for your room. You still have to deal with your baggage at luggage services, all that stuff.
Yeah, and just make sure when you're leaving your luggage, you're very clear with your name, your room number.
If you have it.
If you have it, yeah. And then also, when you pick it up, be very clear, because there's a lot of luggage that Bell Services has to handle on a daily basis. And, you know, the last thing that either you or the bellhop wants to do is, you know, lug up the wrong luggage and have to lug it back down and then find your luggage and lug it back up.
This happened to us 2 or 3 times.
3 times. At
Disney. So even though we moved our luggage to the place we were staying, then once we got a room, we would call Bell Services from the room. They would bring a luggage rack up, and yeah, several times it just wasn't our luggage. So yeah. It's not guaranteed to be a perfectly smooth process. And I know they're trying their hardest, and they always just made it right.
Be aware that this can commonly happen.
Right.
And, you know, be specific, be clear, and just know that mistakes do happen and they're trying their best.
And if you have any luggage that is
unique,
particularly unique, yeah, that can really help them slot it in the racks and racks of luggage. So like we had one bag that is purple with like some Hawaiian flowers on it, and so we'd often tell them, oh, it's the rack with the purple bag with the Hawaiian flowers, because, you know, mostly people don't have that, so that's helpful. But yeah, that's definitely something to be aware of. Like, as with everything Disney, pack your patience. Just because you get your room and call Bell Services doesn't mean your luggage is gonna arrive perfectly. It also does
within minutes, right?
Yeah, it takes some time, you know, 15 to 30 minutes, and then if they bring the wrong one up, they gotta take it back down and find yours and bring it up, so it can take some time.
Yeah, just make sure you're budgeting for it, I guess, is the point of all this.
Right.
It's when you do change rooms, you know, and it's, you know, you have the travel time involved, the packing, the unpacking, waiting for the luggage, waiting for the room. But it can all be worth it,
right?
Because you get different experiences, different places, and ultimately it's why I would definitely do it again. Probably a little bit differently with less back-to-backs in the middle there, but no, it was still an awesome time.
We were gone for 2 full weeks, so it did have, it gave us an opportunity to stay in more hotels than we normally would have, certainly. But like Adam's saying, you know, definite cons. Time is a big one. It can be tiring. It can be a little difficult. It's a little more physical depending on how much luggage you have and if you're moving it yourselves.
Right.
But pros, I mean, location, proximity to theme parks is obviously huge for us. But I know a lot of people also just have like the Disney hotel bucket list, and this is the easiest way to check them off, to experience a bunch of these different resorts, is to pick more than one per vacation. Because if you're only doing one per vacation, you're gonna need a lot of Disney vacations to make your way through all their hotels. And like I mentioned earlier, I think it can be a great way to save money if you want to do a split stay off-site then on-site, or on-site in a value hotel before you move to a more expensive hotel. These DVC villas and these deluxe resorts can go for like $600 a night. Yeah. So, you know, a week of that is thousands of dollars, and you can really save a lot of money by doing a split stay.
Yeah, especially if you're playing with points and looking at availability and trying to make the best of it, fit those puzzle pieces together. Doing a split stay is probably the most efficient way to do that.
Like Adam said, I definitely would do a split stay again. I think also, like Adam said, I would probably plan it a little differently, but also what are the chances we're going on a 2-week-long vacation again? So, you know, in the future when we're back down to about a week, which is sort of our sweet spot, I think 2 or 3 hotels max, and, you know, try to stay at least 2 nights in the same place. If you have any questions about our split stay or want additional opinions, leave those in the comments down below. We'll be happy to get back to you. You can also talk to me about this outside of YouTube over on Twitter and Instagram. You'll find me at PixieDustPhD. Although it can be a bit of a logistical challenge, I do hope we have emphasized that there are a lot of positives about a split stay, and if you're going on a slightly longer trip, like more than 5 nights, I would say, it should be something you consider, and I hope you do. May the rest of your day be magical, and we'll see you real soon at PixieDustPhD.
Bye!
In terms of the split Let's Stay in general. We talked about sort of the pros and cons for Universal